All right. Hello, everyone. Assuming you can hear me, uh, I'll wait and see if people say hello or give a type 1 in the chat, I guess is what the professionals say. Awesome, awesome. Okay. So we're here to watch the 2020 State of the Union by Donald Trump, who is still president. There is a very, very small chance that he won't be tomorrow, though that's very unlikely. um, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I wanted to start the stream off by giving you a bit of the state of the channel. As you can see, I have it labeled down here. I started the year off, the channel anyway, started the year off with 364,000 subscribers, and we've increased to, we might be at 541,000 right now. It was just a few hundred away last I checked. So almost double, which is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So, sorry, I had to rush to get all set up because the ferrets were out and everything. So I'm trying to get settled, which is why we started, or we were supposed to start a half hour early. In 2019, I went to London in February, and I'm going again this year. So 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now, I will be in London for VidCon. So if you happen to be there, come say hi. Only like a dozen people did last year. So let's see if we can get those numbers up a little bit. And I went to regular VidCon in Anaheim, which was also a fun experience, but mostly EduCon, where I got that fancy lunchbox with my name on it and everything. This year I did a bunch of mini-series type videos with Dante and Paradise Lost. Those were, I keep saying this year, but just know that I'm talking about the previous year. I did Dante and Paradise Lost, so I did a religious fan fiction unit, so to speak. And then I did feminism and men's rights. So a lot of my videos, or at least used to, come in pairs like that, or triples sometimes. Like Scientology led into eschatology, stuff like that. There's usually some sort of connection. I also did a bunch of moderates guides this year. That seemed to be what my channel was about this year. It's kind of interesting actually to watch the evolution of what I'm known for over the years. When my channel first took off a year and a half ago, I was the, hey, aren't you the guy who said we couldn't see in 4K? And then I became the Columbus Churchill colonial apologia, which I'll address that here in a second as well. But now I'm the moderates guide person, and I did, I want to say 3 of them this year. Welfare, healthcare, and campaign finance wasn't really a moderates guide, but it might as well have been. But healthcare was the one that kind of struck me the most. As you can see, I support Medicare for all, and it's because of that video. So if you haven't seen that video where I dig into the numbers and figure out the insurance market, I guess, if you want to call it that, more like a scam, I guess. It does seem kind of scammy, but I dug into it because I wanted to know. And that's where most of my videos start. They usually start with a question of some sort. Usually it's why, but sometimes it's how. And this one was, why is the insurance company the way it is, or the insurance system set up the way it is, and how could we fix it? So I dug into that, and I have really no reason to either. I get my healthcare through the VA at no cost. I used to say I get my health insurance through the VA for free, but I don't like wording it that way because it's not free, right? I gave several years of my life and several years afterwards to the country, and this is the workman's comp that's sort of paying me back because of what happened anyway. So I dug into it out of curiosity's sake. I wanted to know, what are the tiers and how much would it cost if I needed stitches? So that was the driving force behind that video, and at the end of it, this system is indefensible. I can't think of any reason to keep it the way it is. So I support single payer, universal, socialized healthcare. That doesn't mean I support seizing the means of production and toppling democracy or anything like that. But I think I'm going to explain that a little better in a future video where I go over the Nordic model, perhaps. But yeah, I'm not a full-blown communist. I took the 8 values test a few weeks ago, and I was a democratic socialist. So there's that. I support private property and capitalism in most areas of want, but when it comes to healthcare, that seems to be the only one that I and others disagree sometimes. So that was kind of a wrap-up of the last year. I'm sure there are other moments that I wish I would have brought up later, but we have plenty of time tonight. These things usually go on for 2 or 3 hours, so we're going to be here for a while. We will take breaks because we're going to have to. But yeah, so the thing most people, or maybe not most people, a few people want me to talk about is the bit of drama that recently occurred on the channel, or with the channel. And I'm not going to say much about it on purpose because I consider it to be kind of done. If other people don't consider it to be done, then okay. I can't do much about that. But the main point of contention seems to be, well, okay, let me start from the beginning for anyone who is completely unaware. 2 years ago, I made a Christopher Columbus video called In Defense of Columbus, An Exaggerated Evil. And I kind of nitpick at a bunch of comedy videos that get the story a bit wrong. And watching those back today, it's still, I mean, there are things wrong with Adam's video, and while I love some more news, there were issues with that as well. Anyway, sorry. So I made that video, put it out, made a few follow-ups like Gandhi and Churchill and stuff like that. But then that was it, and I moved on. But then in November, someone released a response video to my Columbus video where he does to my video what I did to Adam and the various other people. And yeah, there are a few places where I'm wrong, and I admit that. So I didn't watch it for like a week and a half because I was working on the veterans video, and I knew that if I stopped what I was doing to address this, I would never get the veterans video done on time, and that one was, there's a deadline. So I put it off for a little while, and then I watched it with the mindset of, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Let's see if I'm wrong. And there are a few parts where, yes, I'm wrong, but I disagree with the majority of the video, and that's that's that. There's characterizations in there, there's edits in there, which I disagree with, and I'm not gonna go through it point by point. Then a few days after that, I went on a live stream with Central Committee and Cormentine, and we watched my original Columbus video, and we paused it and discussed single sentences for a half an hour sometimes. And if you were to watch it, you would see me go from, it's not really a defense, I just called it that because of the clickbait, right? You see me go from that to, you're right, that was irresponsible of me, I need to fix this. Now, in the video I put out a week ago, you see me do that in the span of a sentence or two. But if you were to watch the live stream, you'd see it over the course of hours, and then after that, weeks and months. So I think what a lot of people were expecting from a Columbus correction video was the live stream, which is why I planned to link to the live stream. I don't stream on Twitch, as many of you know, so I was completely unaware of the, hey, if you can stop spamming that in my chat, that'd be great, otherwise I'm gonna have to block the name, and I know that's a name of someone I like, so stop. Anyway, so people, I'm not a Twitch streamer, so I had no idea that after, I keep hitting my mic, I'm not a Twitch streamer. So I had no idea that after 60 days it was going to be deleted and gone forever. So I intended to just link back to it, and now it's gone, which is unfortunate, but you'll have to ask people who were there to see if I was sincere or whatever. If I were to do that again, which is what people have been asking me to do, like, if the live stream's gone, well, then you have to at least show it again. And I'm not gonna, it wouldn't be sincere, and it would be scripted, right? So no one would believe it. So unfortunately, that bit of history is just sort of gone forever. And you'll just have to take my word for it. And if you don't accept that, then oh well, I guess, because I can't. Yeah, anyway. So that said, I'm kind of pushing away from Columbus and that, and moving on. What's in the future for Knowing Better? I have a few videos in the works right now, obviously. A few of you have noticed my tweets are usually related to what the next video is going to be about. So if you aren't following me on Twitter, you should do so. Knowing Better YT for YouTube. I'm also on Instagram if you haven't done that. So I'm working on a video that's about a different topic than what I usually do. So it'll be interesting to see what your guys' reaction will be to that. But I am also going to VidCon London and VidCon Anaheim in June. So yeah, come on down and see me whenever. I need to do the ad for my channel now. So if you're aware of this stuff, I'm sorry, but we're gonna get through it together, right? I'm Knowing Better. My channel is about history, government, and psychology. I live stream big events like this, State of the Unions, presidential addresses, and anniversaries of my channel and stuff. I used to do more secret, playful live streams, but I'm not doing that anymore, and I'm moving that stuff to Twitch. This live stream is a test of my internet. If you haven't noticed, I've moved since the last live stream, and the internet here is significantly worse than where I left, which is strange to me. So I was dealing with that for a few months. I wanted to start streaming in August. I planned to start streaming in August, but then I moved and things happened. Sorry. So if this live stream goes well and there aren't too many technical issues, I will start live streaming on Twitch. So follow me on there. I'm Knowing Better YT. twitch.tv/knowingbetteryt. Other than that, you can subscribe to my channel here, or if you're especially overzealous, you can join, and for $2 you get access to my Discord, which is going crazy right now, as it usually does during live streams. And you get a fork next to your name. You might see a few people in the chat with forks. That's because they're a member. You can also get on the Discord by joining Patreon for $2. Patreon is probably the most stable part of my income. When a video gets demonetized, that's a month of work that's gone. So Patreon helps stabilize that to a certain degree. For $2 you get on the Discord. For $5 you get the previews of my videos like a day or two before. I promise I'll get better about that. For $10 you get your name at the end in the end card. For $20 you get your name and access to the vault, which is another thing I need to bring up. In my last video I said that I've unlisted or redone videos from the past that I thought needed to be reworked. All of the videos that are currently up right now I think are fine. There are minor errors in them, but those past videos that I unlisted or reworked I have done. Some of you have asked what happened to the conspiracies video and the Cold War video. Here's your answer. Okay, so you get access to those old videos at the $20 level, and then at the $50 you get your name shouted out, actually, by me at the end of your first video. You can follow me on Twitter at KnowingBetterYT, Instagram at KnowingBetterYT. You get all the pictures of my ferrets. You can visit my merch store, standard.tv/knowingbetter, and I'm sure I'll think of other stuff. But we are going to take a quick break while we get set up for the State of the Union. We are going to be watching the State of the Union on a delay. So if you want to watch it live without me pausing it and commenting on it, go do that. You can do that anywhere else. If you're here, it's because you want to hear what I'm saying, right? So, cool. We're going to take a quick break and we will come back with the State of the Union. Focus. And we'll come back with the State of the Union. All right. Hello. Wearing my headset now, so give me a... Okay, so this is what we'll be looking at once we actually get started here. And let me... So a lot has happened this year. You may not remember all of it, but... Okay, so a lot has happened this year, right? And you may not quite remember all of it because it's been quite the year. The Mueller report came out this year. Remember that? That was this year. And it didn't matter. For those who don't quite, who may not understand what happened to the Mueller report, it was set up where it could either find Trump not guilty, or that's it. That's it. It couldn't indict him. It couldn't do anything to stop him. It was either not guilty or nothing. So it came out and it was nothing. It wasn't not guilty. It was, here's some stuff, do something with it. And Congress didn't do anything with it. Once Trump knew that he was safe from the Mueller report, that's when he withheld aid to Ukraine. And that's how that happened. So the whole Ukraine thing is separate but connected. He really benefited from the confusion of everyone mixing the two together. But they were separate events that led into each other. The Iran assassination / execution happened this year as well, if you remember. It feels like so long ago. But I have mixed feelings on that, of course. He was an objectively bad person, but you can't just go around killing people whenever you feel like it without any reason. I'm gonna pause this real quick so I can get some of my expectations out before we go full steam ahead. Like I said, we are watching this on a delay, so if you are unhappy with me pausing and talking and such, go watch it somewhere else. You can watch it on PBS. It's streaming like in 50 different channels on YouTube right now. If you're watching this, it's because you want to see me. I appreciate all of the super chats and people joining up as members, but because things are moving quite quickly, I may not be able to address them all. I get a report at the end, a list of everything that was said and all the people that joined and such. So I will definitely read whatever it is you had to say, and I appreciate the super chats very much. There is no goal this time. Like if we hit 250, I'll do something special. I'm not big into those. Well, I'm not doing those gimmicks right now. So prediction time. He is going to brag about the Space Force, which happened this year. It's similar to what the Marine Corps is to the Navy. The Space Force is part of the Air Force, at least for now. Really, all that happened is they spun off the already existing Space Command. But I'm sure I'll get into that later when he starts talking about it. I expect him to talk about the phony impeachment, which the vote takes place tomorrow. It is very likely he's going to be... I don't know if acquitted is the right word here. But the equivalent of acquitted. He's going to bring up how he survived that and the Mueller report and how the military is stronger than ever, and we pulled out of the Iran deal and TPP and the Paris Climate Accord and all sorts of stuff that I'm sure we will be talking about. Let me go ahead and we'll listen to the insane claps.
Republicans in the House of Representatives giving the president a hearty welcome. Every single one of them voted.
Is it exonerated? Is that the word? Also, let me know if you can hear me fine underneath.
On to the Senate.
Let me know how that's working, because that took a bit to set up.
The president. There are the votes in the House. All Democrats except 2 voted for impeachment. Every single Republican in the House voted against. And tomorrow we'll see the Senate vote. Here's the president.
Members of Congress, the President of the United States.
For now.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
4 more years, they're chanting.
Madam Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, the First Lady of the United States.
What did she do? What are we clapping for? I'm sure she did something. There's no reason.
Fellow citizens,
Anyway.
3 years ago, we launched the Great American Comeback. Tonight, I stand before you to share the
Not sponsored.
jobs are booming, incomes are soaring, poverty is plummeting, crime is falling, confidence is surging, and our country is thriving and highly respected again. America's enemies are on the run. America's fortunes are on the rise, and America's future is blazing bright. The years of economic decay are over.
The economy grew under Obama. Just, I don't know what he means by the years of decay are over. Because, I mean, the stock market hit record highs under every year under, okay, maybe not every year. Definitely most years under Obama. The beginning there might have been a little rough, but I don't know what he means by economic decay. The economy is doing well under him, under Trump. How much of that he can take credit for is to be determined. When you cut taxes, there's a growth in the economy for the first few years and until that kind of fades away. So we'll see what happens.
The days of our country being used, taken advantage of, and even scorned by other nations are long behind us. Gone too are the broken promises, jobless recoveries, tired platitudes, and constant excuses for the depletion of American wealth, power, and prestige. In just 3 short years, we have shattered the mentality of American decline, and we have rejected the downsizing of Americans' destiny. We have totally rejected the downsizing. We're moving forward at a pace
What does that even mean?
unimaginable just a short time ago, and we are never, ever going back.
What did I see Nancy try to reach up and
I am thrilled to report to you tonight that our economy is the best it has ever been, Our military is completely rebuilt, with its power being unmatched anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. Our borders are secure. Our families are flourishing. Our values are renewed. Our pride is restored. And for all of these reasons, I say to the people of our great country and to the members of Congress, the state of our union is stronger than ever before.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that sentiment. I mean, I think we were stronger a year ago. So, I'm not sure what he's talking about.
The vision I will lay out this evening demonstrates how we are building the world's most prosperous and inclusive society, one where every citizen can join in America's unparalleled success, and where every community can take part in America's extraordinary rise. From the instant I took office, I moved rapidly to revive the U.S. economy, slashing a record number of job-killing regulations, enacting historic and record-setting tax cuts, and fighting for fair and reciprocal trade agreements.
Okay, that's a terrible thing to pause on. He brought up the tax cuts, so I do want to bring that up. We've seen this before. We have data and history to show us that whenever there's a tax cut, businesses, corporations tend to reinvest, and the economy grows slightly in the years after, and then bad things happen, as they did in the 2000s, and was in the 70s with Carter and such. So we've seen this happen before. The economy is going to be great for another 2 or 3 years, and then it'll start to not be so great, and blame will be passed around just in time for the next president.
Our agenda is relentlessly pro-worker, pro-family, pro-growth, and most of all, pro-American.
Is that money in his pocket? That's money. That's... I'm not so sure about the pro-worker part. I may disagree with that a little bit, but...
We are advancing with unbridled optimism and lifting our citizens of every race, color, religion, and creed very, very high. Since my election, we have created 7 million new jobs, 5 million more than government experts projected during the previous administration.
I don't know if that's right. I seem to remember that number before. Like way long ago.
Unemployment rate is the lowest in over half a century.
That's true. So unemployment is actually a double-edged sword a little bit. Most of the new jobs created under President Trump have been part-time. And if you are a part-time worker, you're not unemployed. So that number being low is somewhat deceptive. And likewise, when you have money in the bank, like a little bit of savings, you feel a little more free to quit your job and find a better one. We hear people say all the time, why don't you just quit and go somewhere else if your healthcare isn't good, or if they're messing with your hours, or whatever the case may be. The argument is always, well, you can find another job. Not if you don't know how you're going to pay your next month's rent, right? You're going to stick it out. So again, unemployment being low means that people, at least some people, don't feel financially secure enough to look elsewhere. So be careful with that unemployment number. And
very incredibly, the average unemployment rate under my administration
for African Americans.
Any administration in the history of our country.
No, okay, he didn't brag about African American unemployment. The state of our union is stronger than it's ever been before, with half the room not.
Reverse the failed economic policies of the previous administration, the world would not now be witnessing this great economic success.
The economy was doing pretty well near the end of Obama's term, so I don't know if I agree that he reversed any terrible trends.
For African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans has reached the lowest levels in history.
Okay, he did brag about it. I knew he would.
African American youth unemployment has reached an all-time low.
What a weird demographic to target. I mean, hey, that's good though.
Has declined to the lowest rate ever recorded. The unemployment rate for women reached the lowest level in almost 70 years, and last year women filled 72% of all new jobs added.
Mostly part-time. Wow, they do not look happy.
The veterans' unemployment rate dropped to a record low.
The reason that's noteworthy is that veteran unemployment is typically double or triple regular everyone else unemployment. So it being low, I'm happy about that.
The unemployment rate for disabled Americans has reached an all-time low.
Is he gonna say like every demographic? Unemployment for green-eyed people has reached. I mean, let him have his wins, I guess.
Without a high school diploma have achieved the lowest unemployment rate recorded in U.S. history. A record number of young Americans are now employed.
That's what a low unemployment means.
More than 10 million people were added to the food stamp rolls. Under my administration, 7 million Americans have come off food stamps and 10 million people have been lifted off of welfare.
That's not all good, right? Like, if you've seen my video on welfare, which you should definitely check out, Moderate's Guide to Welfare, people on welfare don't really get a lot of money. Like, even at your like max qualifications, you're getting $800 a month, $900 a month. It's not this huge government handout that seems to be in everyone's mind. And for $900 a month, you have to have like 2 or 3 kids and be a single parent. It's not easy. $900 is almost an insult at that level, but yeah.
In 8 years under the last administration, over 300,000 working-age people dropped out of the workforce. In just 3 years of my administration, 3.5 million people, working-age people, have joined the workforce.
So something new I'm noticing this State of the Union, and maybe it happened to a lesser extent in previous ones, but I'm hearing the crowd a lot more this year. I have the volume all the way up, so hopefully you guys should be hearing it as well. But I'm hearing a lot of comments from the peanut gallery, so to speak. Yeah. Not sure how I feel about that. This used to be like a professional occasion where people were on their best behavior and not yelling out.
Since my election, the net worth of the bottom half of wage earners has increased by 47%, 3 times faster than the increase for the top 1%.
What? What was that math?
After decades of flat and falling incomes, wages are rising fast.
No, they're not.
Wonderfully,
There's no way that's true.
For low-income workers who have seen a 16% pay increase since my election.
Minimum wage has not gone up since he was elected, so there's no way the lowest earners are earning more.
This is a blue-collar boom.
Why is that yay? Like, oh yeah, I can't wait to go back into the mines. These are some weird things to get all happy about.
Income is now at the highest level ever recorded. Since my election, U.S. stock markets have soared 70%, adding more than $12 trillion to our nation's wealth, transcending anything anyone believed was possible. This is a record. It is something that every country in the world is looking up to. They admire.
Other countries grew faster than we did this year.
Consumer confidence has just reached amazing new highs. All of those millions.
Consumer confidence is not something you can measure, so even saying this is kind of ridiculous. There's a lot of like one-offs here that I want to pause and we could like do a whole thing on it. But I feel like I'd be repeating myself a lot if I did that, so let's not.
Millions of people with 401ks and pensions are doing far better than they have ever done before, with increases of 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100% and even more.
What is it? You can't, these aren't numbers.
9,000 previously neglected neighborhoods, thanks to Opportunity Zones, a plan spearheaded by Senator Tim Scott as part of our great Republican tax cuts.
This State of the Union is the most partisan I've ever seen. This would have been unheard of before.
In other words, wealthy people and companies are pouring money into poor neighborhoods or areas that haven't seen investment in many decades, creating jobs, energy, and excitement. This is the first time that these deserving communities have seen anything like this. It's all working. Opportunity Zones are helping Americans like Army veteran Tony Rankins from Cincinnati, Ohio.
All right, here we go with the tokenism.
Struggling with drug addiction, Tony lost his job.
Every president does this. It's just part of the speech.
Tony found a construction company that invests in Opportunity Zones. He is now a top tradesman, drug-free, reunited with his family, and he is here tonight. Tony, keep up the great work, Tony.
I can hear his clapping, specifically.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you for all of the super chats. I appreciate it very
Our
much.
roaring economy has, for the first time ever.
Actually, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a glimpse of the ferrets real quick. Just because I think we need some cute. Alright. I don't usually wake them up, so here they are. This one is Peabody. He's all white with a silver tail. And this one is Atlas. Mostly silver. I think they called it a panda pattern or something. But yes, these are my two ferrets. They're a year and a half old right now. So, yep. Back to this. All right. So, that was just a little gift for the various super chats. We're going to go ahead and continue with the topic at hand.
Given many former prisoners the ability to get a great job and a fresh start. This second chance at life is made possible because we passed landmark criminal justice reform into law. Everybody said that criminal justice reform couldn't be done, but I got it done, and the people in this room got it done.
So the criminal justice reform he passed only affected federal prisoners and federal prisons, which is only like 1.5% of the total prison population. It's a good first step, and I'm glad they accomplished that. I hope now the states follow through, because most people in prison are in there for state and local crimes, not federal ones, which is the only thing Trump can pardon or affect any change with. So that's a legitimate point in Trump's column there.
Thanks to our bold regulatory reduction.
All right, sorry about that, guys. Seems my internet connection took a little dip. We'll get back to it now.
The United States has become the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world, by far. With the tremendous progress we have made over the past 3 years, America is now energy independent, and energy jobs, like so many other elements of our country, are at a record high. We are doing numbers that no one would have thought possible just 3 years ago. Likewise, we are restoring our nation's manufacturing might, even though predictions were, as you all know, that this could never, ever be done. After losing 60,000 factories under the previous two administrations, America has now gained 12,000 new factories under my administration, with thousands upon thousands of plants and factories being planned or being built.
I'd have to look at it to be sure, but I'm pretty sure more factories have closed under Trump. I know for sure more coal plants have closed under Trump than any other president, like coal-fired power plants. I don't know about factories. I suspect that may be a little bit of a fib on his part.
They are coming back to the USA. The fact is that everybody wants to be where the action is, and the United States of America is indeed the place where the action is. One of the biggest promises I made to the American people was to replace the disastrous NAFTA trade deal.
All he did is rename it. USMCA is the same thing, just there's like a few small changes, but for the most part, it's NAFTA 2.
In fact, unfair trade is perhaps the single biggest reason that I decided to run for president. Following NAFTA's adoption, our nation lost 1 in 4 manufacturing jobs. Many politicians
to automation,
pledging to change or replace NAFTA, only to do so, and then absolutely nothing happened. But unlike so many who came
only to do so and then nothing happened.
Promises, we did our job.
All he did was rename it. Again, a few small changes in there, but for the most part, it's the same thing.
6 days ago, I replaced NAFTA and signed the brand new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement into law. The USMCA will create nearly 100,000 new high-paying American auto jobs and massively boost exports for our farmers, ranchers, and factory workers.
Waiting for a clap.
It will also bring trade with Mexico and Canada to a much higher level, but also to be a much greater degree of fairness and reciprocity. We will have that fairness and reciprocity, and I say that finally because it's been many, many years that we were treated fairly on trade. This is the first major trade deal in many years to earn the strong backing of America's labor unions.
Because it's just NAFTA again.
I also promised our citizens that I would impose tariffs to confront China's massive theft of America's jobs. Our strategy has worked. Days ago, we signed the groundbreaking new agreement with China that will defend our workers, protect our intellectual property, bring billions and billions of dollars into our treasury, and open vast new markets for products made and grown right here in the USA.
We're losing most of our jobs to automation, not China. And we're losing jobs to Mexico and Canada, strangely enough, but...
For decades, China has taken advantage of the United States. Now we have changed that. But at the same time,
we haven't changed.
Perhaps the best relationship we've ever had with China, including with President Xi. They respect what we've done because, quite frankly, they could never really believe that they were able to get away with what they were doing year after year, decade after decade, without someone in our country stepping up and saying, that's enough.
What is he even talking about? So China has been taking advantage of us, and now that we're not letting them, they're happy about it and respect us for not letting them take advantage of us anymore. Okay. Did I get that right?
Now we want to rebuild our country, and that's exactly what we're doing. We are rebuilding our country. As we restore American leadership throughout the world, we are once again standing up.
Okay. So, restore American leadership around the world. We've pulled out of every major international agreement. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was NAFTA for the Asia-Pacific sphere. Since we pulled out of that, guess who's in charge of it now? China. And they're going to set up the trade deal with all of the countries around the Pacific Rim. And not us. We're not even part of it. We pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. I think the only other two countries are Syria and like Burundi or something. If we keep taking our ball and going home, China is going to show up with their ball and they're going to play with everyone. And we're just not going to get invited anymore. That's how soft power works, and pulling out of all of this stuff and kind of giving everybody the finger is going to bite us in the end. Because we're going to need friends eventually, and everyone's going to be playing with China's ball, not ours, phrasing. And that's just it. This is bad. I don't like that we're pulling out of all of this and stepping back and letting other countries take over. I don't understand how he can say that he's building our power while China is leading the way in trade and the EU is leading the way in climate. We're not in space anymore. I mean,
Up for freedom in our hemisphere. That's why my administration reversed the failing policies of the previous administration on Cuba. We are supporting the hopes of Cubans, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans to restore democracy. The United States is leading a 59-nation diplomatic coalition against the socialist dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro.
I'm not even going to touch that. But Venezuela is... Venezuela's entire economy is based on the exportation of oil. When the largest country in your hemisphere blocks trade with you, your economy is it's gonna hit the toilet really quickly, since it's all in oil, mostly anyway. Like a huge portion of their economy is oil. They used to be the our third biggest importer of oil. It was Mexico, Canada, Venezuela, and then a distant fourth, Saudi Arabia. But yeah, it turns out when you sanction a country, things go wrong.
Maduro is...
Okay, I see in the chat, and I do need to correct this. Trump did not start the sanctions. That they definitely existed under Obama. They might have started under Bush.
An illegitimate ruler, a tyrant who brutalizes his people, but Maduro's grip on tyranny will be smashed and broken.
Why him of all people?
A very brave man
Just move on.
who carries with him the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of all Venezuelans. Joining us in the gallery is the true and legitimate president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido. Mr. President, please take this message back to your family.
I'm pretty sure he didn't actually win. This is another thing I would have to double check. But I'm like 95% sure he didn't actually win. And the US just decided that he won. And he's not actually...
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, no one voted for him. That's correct. Yeah.
Please take this message.
Glad I got that right.
All Americans are united with the Venezuelan people in their righteous struggle for freedom. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Okay, since I'm sure now that what I was thinking is the correct answer, yes. So, okay, let's... There, okay. So, this guy, Guaido, he... No one even voted for him. I think he, like, wanted to have an election, and it didn't actually... Something strange happened, I know, but nobody voted for him. And the U.S. decided he's the legitimate president when he is, like, of all the people, it's definitely not him. There's plenty of people to choose from, I suppose. But obvious choice is Maduro, who they voted for. But of all the people, it's definitely not this guy. And we're just getting involved. Similar to, I don't know enough about Bolivia to want to, like... give any information on that one, but this one I remember quite clearly. See, like the lost prince of... I mean, he's not even in exile or anything. He's...
Thank you very much. Socialism destroys nations, but always remember freedom unifies the soul.
So I expect I'm going to have to say this a lot in the coming year, especially with Bernie quite openly embracing the term socialist. I have to thank the Republicans over the last decade for calling everybody socialist a little bit. Calling Obama a socialist when he was not, like, at all. He was very centrist. Calling him a socialist kind of made the word okay. Like, oh, if he's a socialist, I mean, he's not even that different, really. So, like, decades of that has kind of worn the term down to where AOC is running openly as a socialist, and Bernie Sanders, and the whole squad, right? So socialism isn't the scary term it used to be in the US anyway. And whenever they talk about socialism, they're immediately cranking it up to 11 and talking about Soviet Union usually. They never bring up Finland and Sweden and France and Germany and all of those other countries that have just a little more socialism than we do, like just like 2 or 3 more industries than us, and they aren't wastelands or anything. They're fine. So here's what I want you to do. If you're one of those people that says Finland isn't socialist, okay, then that means socialized healthcare isn't socialist, right? If Sweden and all of those other countries that have the Nordic model aren't socialist, then we can do it because it's not socialism. If you're going to blanket label everything socialism, then there are plenty of socialist countries that are not wastelands. So it's a weird double... Like, this argument just doesn't make sense from 2 perspectives. And I think I think the United States is going to realize that a little bit more over the course of this election, that socialism is many things. Socialism is a spectrum. There's probably a better word for that, but that's the one I landed on. There are degrees of socialism, and what Bernie Sanders is proposing is actually very, very mild, like France and Germany. I think he wants to take it a little further by making dental free as well. Okay, it'll save me a few $100 a year, but socialism light isn't this scary thing, and they're going to have to fight against that feeling this year. And we'll see how they do that, I guess.
To safeguard American liberty, we have invested a record-breaking $2.2 trillion in the United States military.
That's what they needed, is more investment. That's sarcastic. Stone cold nothing.
We have purchased the finest planes, missiles, rockets, ships, and every other form of military equipment, and it's all made right here in the USA. We are also getting our allies, finally, to help pay their fair share.
Which is why we increased military spending. We increased military spending to make up for the fact that they're paying more.
I have raised contributions from other NATO members by more than $400 billion, and the number of allies meeting their minimum obligations has more than doubled. And just weeks ago, for the first
there's no way that's true.
President Truman established the Air Force more than 70
Here we go.
years earlier. We created a brand new branch of the United States Armed Forces. It's called the Space Force. Very important.
Very important. Very important, he says. So pointless. So the Space Force is super pointless. When the Air Force was created, it already existed. It was huge with millions of members. It was the Army Air Corps, and we just spun it off into its own thing because that made sense. You have a ground force, a sea force, and an air force, and a beach force, I guess, whatever. That's all you need. Space is just higher air, really. And I know in the distant future, we'll have an actual space. There is no current Space Force to spin off to make its own thing. We took Space Command, which is like NORAD and the people that watch the skies in Independence Day and stuff. Those guys. We took those, which is like 4,000 people or something, and we made it its own thing for no reason other than to say we have 6 of them now. It's very much just a publicity thing. I think we all know that. Nobody I've spoken to in the military is for this because it doesn't make sense. We don't have NASA. Well, we have NASA, but we don't have a space station. We don't have regular space flights. There's no reason really to have a Space Force.
In the gallery tonight, we have a young gentleman, and what he wants so badly, 13 years old, Ian Launfay. He's an 8th grader from Arizona. Ian, please stand up. Ian has always dreamed of going to space. He was the first in his class and among the youngest at an aviation academy. He aspires to go to the Air Force Academy, and then he has his eye on the Space Force. As Ian says, most people look up at space. I want to look down on the world.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. But this, I don't like this. This tokenism of a kid. He's gonna get bullied. I mean... And he's 13, right? Like, I think that's... Yeah. He's 13, right? So 5 years from now, he may find out that his asthma or whatever it is disqualifying, and Trump will have built him up publicly. I don't know if I like this.
But sitting behind Ian tonight is his greatest hero of them all, Charles McGee was born in Cleveland, Ohio, 1 century ago. Charles is one of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, the first black fighter pilots, and he also happens to be Ian's great-grandfather.
All right. That's impressive. In general, even. The Air Force didn't exist when he was in, just for the record, so that uniform is... Let him have it. Let him have it.
Incredible story. After more than 130 combat missions in World War II, he came back home to a country still struggling for civil rights and went on to serve America in Korea and Vietnam. On December 7th, Charles celebrated his 100th birthday.
I'm still a sucker for this stuff. I mean, I think I always will be.
A few weeks ago, I signed a bill promoting Charles McGee to Brigadier General.
Okay, that's...
And earlier today, I pinned the stars on his shoulders in the Oval Office. General McGee, our nation salutes you. Thank you, sir. From the Pilgrims to the founders, from the soldiers at Valley Forge to the marchers at Selma, and from President Lincoln to the Reverend Martin Luther King, Americans have always rejected limits on our children's future. Members of Congress, we must never forget that the only victories that matter in Washington are victories that deliver for the American people. The people are the heart of our country. Their dreams are the soul of our country, and their love is what powers and sustains our country. We must always remember that our job is to put America first.
I don't... Why would they show them immediately after? That's a weird... Those are...
The next step forward in building an inclusive society.
So, America First is a very nationalist take. And nationalist should be a scary word to you because it should remind you of what happened almost exactly 100 years ago. Nationalism is not something we should... It's okay to be patriotic. Patriotism is when you're, proud of America or whatever. Nationalism is when America is always right, it's never wrong, and we are the best to the exclusion of all others. And that's toxic. We've never been like that in our history. Not even, maybe 100 years ago it was a little more, but I don't think it's ever been this bad where we're like, we're taking our ball and going home, guys. So, anyway, the America First thing, we need to drop. It's okay to want your country to do well, but at the expense of others is a bad way to go about things, because then other countries are going to start avoiding you, like you would a friend that does that.
Is making sure that every young American gets a great education and the opportunity to achieve the American dream. Yet for too long, countless American children have been trapped in failing government schools. To rescue these students, 18 states have created school choice in the form of opportunity scholarships.
I have a whole video about this.
Tens of thousands of students remain on a waiting list. One of those students is Janiyah Davis, a fourth grader from Philadelphia. Janiyah.
I have a whole video about charter schools and why they're bad. School choice is just another a reframe of charter schools and the privatization of public schools, which is just bad. There's no good arguments.
Janiyah's mom, Stephanie, is a single parent. She would do anything to give her daughter a better future. But last year, that future was put further out of reach when Pennsylvania's governor vetoed legislation to expand school choice to 50,000 children. Janiyah and Stephanie are in the gallery. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here with your beautiful daughter. Thank you very much.
This is an election stunt. People are quite rightly calling this out.
Good news for you, because I am
no.
pleased to inform you that your long wait is over. I can proudly announce tonight that an opportunity scholarship has become available. It's going to you, and you will soon be heading to the school of your choice.
This isn't good. He's turning the State of the Union into an Oprah. You get a car, you get a school of your choice.
Now I call on Congress to give...
It's a bad precedent to set, to have the State of the Union be a prize giveaway. And for political points as well, against a governor of some state. Pennsylvania, I think he said. I don't even know if that's true. It might be, but school choice is... We always want... Well, okay, They always want states' rights right up until it's one that they disagree with personally. Pennsylvania not doing school choice is a bad thing, but states' rights is a good thing.
Give 1 million American children the same opportunity Janiyah has just received. Pass the Education Freedom Scholarships and Opportunities Act, because no parent should be forced to send their child to a failing government school.
Charter schools fail way more than public schools do. Charter schools open, and so this is what happens in states with charter schools, because I worked at several charter schools. They open, they take in all of these school children from all over sometimes. Charter schools have much larger, I don't want to say district, because that's not it. It's not a school district. They can reach beyond the school districts. They have a larger catchment area than public schools do, at least in some states. So they pull in all these people, all these school children. They give them really bare minimum education. They fail the state tests. They get put on the watch list, and they have 2 or 3 years to improve, and then they get shut down. So what happens in a lot of these places is there's your public school with all of your students. It's fully funded and it's running fine. Maybe it's slightly above average, say. And then a charter school opens up and takes half the students away to this one, because it's a static demand. You can't create more children quickly, so they take from the public school. Now this school has less funding. This school is only working for profit, so they don't care about the education. They run substandard curriculum, they fail the tests, and then in 3 years they get shut down. That happens a lot more than you might think. It's something like 60% of charter schools fail in the first 3 or 4 years. The school fails, this super underfunded public school now has to take all the students back and make it work somehow until the next charter school pops up and repeats the cycle. This happens over and over for as long as we let it. And that's why I'm against school choice. I've worked at 2 schools in their I can't remember what the exact term was. I don't want to say like on the watch list, but they were on the naughty school list, and they weren't performing well, which is probably why they had job openings. But yeah, then the school shut down and I had to find a new job at the end of each year. It was very annoying. Anyway, charter schools are terrible.
Every young person should have a safe and secure environment in which to learn and to grow. For this reason, our magnificent First Lady has launched the Be Best initiative to advance a safe, healthy, supportive, and drug-free life for the next generation.
There's a lot of comments in the background.
And in our communities. Thank you, Melania, for your extraordinary love and profound care for America's children. Thank you very much. My administration is determined to give our citizens the opportunities they need, regardless of age or background. Through our pledge to American workers, over 400 companies will also provide new jobs and education opportunities to almost 15 million Americans. My budget also contains an exciting vision for our nation's high schools. Tonight, I ask Congress to support our students and back my plan to offer vocational and technical education in every single high school in America.
I like that. That's a good... We need to bring back wood shops and metal shops and auto shops, and all that stuff needs to come back. College is not the only higher education.
To expand equal opportunity, I am also proud that we achieved record and permanent funding for our nation's historically black colleges and universities. A good life for American families also requires the most affordable, innovative, and high-quality health care system on earth. Before I took office, health insurance premiums had more than doubled in just 5 years. I moved quickly to provide affordable alternatives. Our new plans are up to 60% less expensive and better.
That's not true. I mean, he might have brought premiums down a little, but the cost of healthcare is not lower at all.
I've also made an ironclad pledge to American families. We will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions.
I don't know why he keeps using that as some sort of point in his win column when Obama got rid of pre-existing conditions. Well, made it so that insurance companies can't restrict you based on them, blah, blah.
We will always protect your Medicare, and we will always protect your Social Security, always.
That's a jab at Biden, who really should just give up after today.
The American patient should never be blindsided by medical bills. That is
I agree.
why I signed an executive order requiring price transparency.
I agree with that as well. What he's talking about there is making the charge master public, which I can't believe we didn't already have it that way.
Experts believe that transparency, which will go into full effect at the beginning of next year will be even bigger than health care reform.
I'm not sure that's true.
It will save families massive amounts of money for substantially better care. But as we work to improve Americans' health care, there are those who want to take away your health care, take away your doctor.
That is so not true.
Insurance entirely.
That's okay. Abolish private insurance, yes.
132 lawmakers in this room have endorsed legislation to impose a socialist takeover of our health care system, wiping out the private health insurance plans of 180 million very happy Americans.
Most of them are not very... Ooh! Did you hear that non-clap? Oh, that hurts. This is... So... I'm getting fired up. So... 180 million Americans are definitely not happy with their health insurance. The vast majority are not at all even close. And if you think you're happy with your insurance, just wait. Just wait until you're in an accident or something, and suddenly you're going to have a different perspective. That happened to me 15 years ago or more even. I had full health insurance. I got into an accident and owed thousands on top of my insurance. This was before Obamacare, so pre ACA. Had an accident with insurance, thousands. And I was a broke college student at the time. I was 21 or 22, so yeah, thousands was a lot. I mean, it still is, but back then that it's bad. The health insurance system as we have it right now is not good. You are spending, you right now, if you're an American, you right now are spending double what a British person is for their health care, and their costs don't go up if they go to the doctor. Okay, so the average per capita healthcare spending in America is $9,500, give or take. I'd have to look at my video to double check, but around $9,500. You're paying that regardless of whether or not you get sick. It's just gone. Your health insurance, your Medicare, whatever it is you're paying it into, if you don't get sick, it's just gone. $9,500 gone. British people are paying $4,500, $5,000. Regardless, whether they don't go to the doctor, whether they have all the cancer, it's the same regardless. If you're happy with your health insurance, it's probably because you're not using it. That's probably the best way I can sum that up. If you're happy with the way it is, it's because you aren't dealing with it. You're paying it's coming out of your paycheck. You don't think about it. You're not sick, so you don't go to the doctor. So you're happy. Also, taking people off of their private insurance and putting everybody on Medicare, which everyone on Medicare loves. Okay, most people on Medicare love Medicare. So being on Medicare is not like this bad thing. Okay? But putting everyone on that, it doesn't wipe out your health care. It just changes it. Instead of writing a monthly check to Blue Cross or Aetna, do they exist still? Whoever, instead of writing a check to them, you're writing slightly more in taxes. Even if your taxes doubled, for most people, it would still be less than what you're paying right now in health insurance. It's just, I have a whole video where I go deep into the numbers and laws and all of that. I definitely recommend you check it out. If people are able to link it in the chat, please do. That'd be very helpful. But The Moderate's Guide to Healthcare, if you watch that and at the end you're like, yes, I still like my silver HMO plan, I don't know what to tell you then. Because you would be happier under Medicare for All.
Tonight, I want you to know We will never let socialism destroy American health care.
We do worse in every healthcare metric. All of the big ones. We're not getting what we're paying for.
Over 130 legislators in this chamber have endorsed legislation that would bankrupt our nation by providing free taxpayer-funded health care to millions of illegal aliens, forcing taxpayers to subsidize
That's what he's talking about?
anyone in the world who unlawfully crosses our borders. These proposals would raid the Medicare benefits of our seniors and that our seniors depend on, while acting as a...
Mexico has socialized healthcare, don't they?
That is what is happening in California.
It may not be free for American tourists, I guess, but
Costing taxpayers vast and unaffordable amounts of money. If forcing American
This is
taxpayers
just-
to provide
this is just
free
dumb,
healthcare
what
to
he's talking about right
illegal
now. It's
aliens
just
sounds fair to
stupid.
you, then stand with the radical left. But if you believe that we should defend American patients and American seniors, then stand with me and pass legislation to prohibit free government health care for illegal aliens.
Okay, so I'm not gonna go on another screed about health insurance, but this issue specifically, if you are a tourist in the UK and you need a car hits you, you go to the hospital and it's taken care of. You're not even a British citizen, and it's just taken care of. So there's a certain level of that kind of that expectation. Like, you take care of visitors. It's just what you do. You know, you respect your guests or whatever. Now, illegal immigrants, which undocumented workers or undocumented immigrants, whatever term you prefer to use, I go with undocumented. So if you're one of the illegal people, you like using the term illegal immigrant, sorry. I mean, yes, being here without documentation is illegal. Okay, but the person isn't illegal. So I'm not calling them that. So if you're against undocumented immigrants getting free healthcare, which what they really mean is if they get hit by a car and they end up in the hospital, they get taken care of. That's what he's talking about here. 0 undocumented immigrants go to the doctor for a semi-annual checkup. 0. I'm willing to put money on this. It's at least 95% emergencies only for undocumented immigrants. And there's only like 10 or 11 million of them in a country of 330 million. It's a very small, he's targeting a very small group of people who are a very small expense in our health insurance industry, and kicking them off isn't going to solve anything, because we're still going to help them. If they get hit by a car, they're going to end up in the hospital and they're going to get saved. I mean, assuming we can physically, we're able to. They're going to be saved, and then there's going to be a bill because of that. And usually what happens is the hospital just writes off that bill as a loss, and the costs get absorbed by the rest of us, unfortunately. But that happens for everyone, whether they're undocumented immigrants or a rich visitor from Thailand who doesn't pay their bill and just leaves, or if it's you and you claim bankruptcy after your medical bill. All of those costs get absorbed by the rest of us who are paying. Well, not even me, because I don't pay. So by the rest of society, the country, whatever. If you go and you don't pay your bill and you claim bankruptcy or file for bankruptcy or bail on the country or whatever else, whatever you do to not pay your bill, that gets absorbed. And there are way more Americans doing that than undocumented immigrants. So he's very specifically saying this
It's a dog whistle. I mean, it's not even a well-hidden dog whistle.
This will be a tremendous boon to our already very strongly guarded southern border, where, as we speak, a long, tall, and very powerful wall is being built.
No, it is not. It is not. Not even a little bit. That isn't true at all. What they have done is replaced some of the already existing fence.
Now completed over 100 miles and have over 500 miles fully completed in a very short period of time. Early next year, we will
It's not
have
true.
substantially more than 500 miles completed. My administration is also
It's not new.
the big
It's replaced.
pharmaceutical companies. We have approved a
No, they are not.
generic drugs and medicines are being approved by the FDA at a faster clip than ever before.
That specific part about approval times might be true, but he is not taking on the pharmaceutical companies at all.
And I was pleased to announce last year that for the first time in 51 years, the cost of prescription drugs actually went down.
I don't know if that's true either. I'd have to look, but
Working together, Congress can reduce drug prices substantially from current levels. I mean,
that's
speaking
true.
to Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa and others in Congress in order to get something on drug pricing done, and done quickly and properly. I'm calling for bipartisan legislation that achieves
Death
the goal
stare.
of dramatically lowering prescription drug prices. Get a bill on my desk and I will sign it into law immediately.
So prescription drug prices have gone up insane percentages in the last few years. The only reason being because they can. There's no other. It doesn't cost more to make. There's no tariffs on it or anything like that. It's just because they want more profit. If you want to look more specifically like into that, there's a documentary on Netflix about Valiant called Dirty Money. It's quite good. I recommend that.
With unyielding commitment, we are curbing the opioid
I can't hear them.
drug overdose
What were they saying?
decline for the first time in nearly 30 years. Among the states hardest hit, Ohio is down 22%, Pennsylvania is down 18%, Wisconsin
They were holding up
10%,
3 or maybe
and we will
4,
not
3 or
quit
4.
until we have beaten the opioid epidemic once and for all. Protecting Americans' health also means fighting infectious diseases. We are
Here we go.
coordinating with the Chinese government and working closely together on the coronavirus outbreak in China. My administration will take all necessary steps.
Okay, so they were chanting HR 3 and they were holding up a 3, and HR 3 is the Lower Drug Costs Now Act. I'd have to look into it more specifically to see if I agree with it or not, but I generally agree with lower drug prices. So
To safeguard our citizens from this threat, we have launched ambitious
wait, there's more to it. Is that true? I don't know if what I'm seeing in the Discord is accurate. So
New initiatives to substantially improve care for Americans with kidney disease, Alzheimer's, and those struggling with mental health. And because Congress was so good as to fund my request, new cures for childhood cancer, and we will eradicate the AIDS epidemic in America by the end of this decade. Almost every American family knows the pain when a loved one is diagnosed with a serious illness. Here tonight is a special man, beloved by millions of Americans, who just received a stage 4 advanced cancer diagnosis. This is not good news, but what is good news is that he is the greatest fighter and winner that you will ever meet. Rush Limbaugh, thank you for your decades of tireless devotion to our country.
wow. Screw Rush Limbaugh. Seriously. I can't believe he's using this moment for this. Wow. Okay, for those of you who don't know who this is, because, I mean, he's very old. This guy, Rush Limbaugh, is the Sean Hannity or Bill O'Reilly of the 80s and 90s. Like, he was doing this before it was cool. Complaining about immigrants, about the Democrats, about feminists, and all. Like, he's OG that crowd. So that's who this guy is, that he's now honoring in the middle of the State of the Union. It's strange and very partisan. Extremely partisan. Like this... okay, I can't repeat what he said, because while it isn't a swear word, it got him in a lot of trouble. But he once made comments about African-American basketball players' hair that got him in a lot of trouble. And it turns out he was like addicted to opioids the entire time. He was telling other people that they should stop doing drugs. Very hypocritical, very just all-around terrible person. I think I'm willing to go on record to say Rush Limbaugh is a terrible person.
And Rush, in recognition of all that you have done for our nation, the millions of people a day that you speak to and that you inspire, and all of the incredible work that you have done for charity, I am proud.
Oh, the hair thing was Don Imus. My mistake.
Country's highest.
The doing drugs, though, opioids thing, that was definitely him. He was on some sort of painkiller, Oxycontin, something like that.
Civilian honor.
Rush Limbaugh has said stuff like that, though. I know for sure that he's said racist stuff on the air and got in trouble for it. But you're right, that was Don Imus. I was misremembering. Did he come up? He died recently, didn't he?
The Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Presidential Medal of Freedom to this guy? To him. To him. So that award doesn't mean anything anymore. Okay. Like, in what way has he helped anything? He's only divided.
The First Lady of the United States to present you with the honor, please.
Right now. This is just stupid. I think this is the first person to ever be given an award in the middle of the State of the Union, and it's Rush Limbaugh? Not like Buzz Aldrin or something. Like, I mean, I remember him. He was at one of the older ones, but this, I can't. What? This is mind blowing. This is gonna be the big. This is all anybody's gonna talk about.
Congratulations. Thank you, Catherine.
That's a CPP or CBP guy behind him. So Border Patrol is gonna come up.
Is constantly achieving new medical
This is-
breakthroughs. In 2017, doctors at St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City delivered one of the earliest premature babies ever to survive. Born at just 21 weeks and 6 days and weighing less than a pound, Ellie Schneider was a born fighter. Through the skill of her doctors and the prayers of her parents, little Ellie kept on winning the battle of life. Today, Ellie is a strong, healthy 2-year-old girl sitting with her amazing mother, Robin. In the gallery, Ellie and Robin, we are glad to have you with us tonight.
I mean, I'm still in shock that I'm not entirely sure what their story is. I mean, the kid survived a premature birth, but I'm not sure what the lead into this was. I can't believe he gave an award right in the middle. Okay, so I think this is a good moment to refresh the drinks, if you happen to be doing any of that. I'm not endorsing that you do anything like that, you know, but I need to get up and walk around for a minute to kind of absorb that, and we will be right back. All right, we'll be back here in just a... Oh, he is completely asleep. Look at that. Oh, okay. Back in just a moment, so if you're listening, get back. Okay. So, we just watched Donald Trump
give the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Rush Limbaugh in the middle of the State of the Union. That has to be a first. Has anyone... if someone could double check that, I'm pretty sure that's a first, though. So, and this girl survived a premature birth. I'm not entirely sure what the tie-in to the speech is, unless he's gonna talk about like American healthcare again. But let's soldier on.
Reminds us that every child is a miracle of life, and thanks to modern medical wonders, 50% of very premature babies delivered at the hospital where Ellie was born now survive. It's an incredible thing. Thank you very much.
I'm happy for you guys.
To ensure that every baby has the best chance to thrive and grow just like Ellie. That is why I'm asking Congress to provide an additional $50 million to fund neonatal research for America's youngest patients.
Good. I'm glad. This is a good thing. But also, this is government spending on healthcare, which is what he's against.
That is why I'm also calling upon members of Congress here tonight to pass legislation finally banning the late-term abortion of babies.
It's already illegal. If he brings up like partial birth abortions or something, we're gonna skip it because that's not a thing.
Whether we are Republican, Democrat, or Independent, surely we must all agree that every human life is a sacred gift from God. As we support America's moms and dads, I was recently proud to sign the law providing new parents in the federal workforce paid family leave, serving as a model for the rest of the country.
Again, it affects very few number of people. I'm for it. We need to do way more than that. I'm glad we started here at least.
Now I call on Congress to pass the bipartisan Advancing Support for Working Families Act, extending family leave to mothers and fathers all across our nation. $40 million American families have an average $2,200 extra thanks to our child tax credit. I've also overseen historic funding increases for high-quality child care, enabling 17 states to help more children, many of which have reduced or eliminated their wait lists altogether.
For childcare?
And I sent Congress a plan with a vision to further expand access to high-quality child care and urge you to act immediately.
I'm pro childcare.
I announced that the United States will join the 1 Trillion Trees Initiative, an ambitious effort to bring together government and private sector to plant new trees in America and all around the world.
I've never heard of that initiative, but if you're aware of Team Trees, you should... We met the goal already, but you should still give to that.
We must also rebuild America's infrastructure.
Yes, we do. He's not gonna do it. I'd be surprised if he does. We built all of this infrastructure in the 40s, 50s, and 60s that's now crumbling.
I ask you to pass Senator John Barrasso's highway bill to invest in new roads, bridges, and tunnels all across our land.
Yeah, we have to do
I'm
it.
also committed to ensuring that every citizen can have access to high-speed internet, including and especially in
5G.
rural America.
No? Okay.
I mean, I don't know how he's going to enforce that. We got rid of net neutrality and stuff, and that was supposed to like open up all sorts of awesome internet. And what we're actually seeing is more municipalities creating their own internet for their own people, like a municipal broadband, rather than having to go through Comcast or Charter or whoever it is, because they're not upgrading everybody to fiber like we would have thought they would.
A better tomorrow for all Americans also requires us to keep America safe. That means supporting the men and women of law enforcement at every level, including our nation's heroic ICE officers.
Okay. Yep, here we go. Called it. Though that's a Rush. That was not a reference to Rush. It was me scoring a point.
Last year, our brave ICE officers arrested more than 120,000 criminal aliens charged with nearly 10,000 burglaries, 5,000 sexual assaults, 45,000 violent assaults, and 2,000 murders. Tragically, there are many cities in America where radical politicians have chosen to provide sanctuary for these criminal illegal aliens.
Okay, so a sanctuary city, let's clear this up. A sanctuary city is not a city where all undocumented immigrants are welcome and everyone lives happily. A sanctuary city is when the city tells its police to not care about immigration status. That's not to say, like, if they find out that there's 20 undocumented immigrants living in a basement, they're not going to do something about it. They probably will. But if you are an undocumented immigrant and you go to the police to tell them someone stole your car or hurt you in some way, all they'll care about is your stolen car or who hurt you or whatever. They're not going to care about your immigration status, which is how it should be. That's, hey, someone robbed my house. Oh yeah? Well, where are your papers? Because otherwise you're going to prison. Like, that's a weird system, right? I hope we can agree that that's a weird way to do policing. Hey, someone stole my baby. Okay, well, what country are you from? Like, who cares? Handle the crime. That's what a sanctuary city is. They just handle the crimes. They don't care about where you're from. That's all it is. It's not a safe haven where there's just tons of undocumented people living there. That's not what it is. So can we just stop that myth, please? Of course, he's not going to. He's mid-sentence. He's going to keep going. But for the rest of us...
In sanctuary cities, local officials order police to release dangerous criminal aliens to prey upon the public instead of handing them over to ICE to be safely removed. Just 29 days ago, a criminal alien freed by
He's going to pick one. Okay.
City of New York was charged with the brutal rape and murder of a 92-year-old woman.
I'm obviously against the rape and murder of 92-year-old women. Obviously, that person should be punished and kicked out. Can we make that clear? But getting rid of sanctuary cities is not going to eliminate that problem.
Previously arrested for assault, but under New York sanctuary policies, he was set free. If the city had honored ICE's detainer request, his victim would still be alive today. The state of California passed an outrageous law declaring their whole state to be a sanctuary for criminal illegal immigrants.
A what? Is he having a stroke?
With catastrophic results. Here is just one tragic example.
Look at Nancy's face. What's going on?
California police detained an illegal alien with 5 prior arrests, including convictions for robbery and assault. But as required by California's sanctuary law, local authorities released him. Days later, the criminal alien went on a gruesome spree of deadly violence. He viciously shot one man going about his daily work. He approached a woman sitting in her car and shot her in the arm and in the chest. He walked into a convenience store and wildly fired his weapon. He hijacked a truck and smashed into vehicles, critically injuring innocent victims. One of the victims is a terrible, terrible situation. Died, 51-year-old American named Rocky Jones. Rocky was at a gas station.
Something weird is happening right now.
Fired 8 bullets at him from close range.
Like, did his teleprompter break?
Cold blood. Rocky left behind a devoted family, including his brothers, who loved him more than anything else in the world. One of his grieving brothers is here with us tonight. Jody, would you please stand? Jody, thank you.
I mean, I feel for his family and stuff. I'm sorry, but also... I mean, there shouldn't be a but also. I feel for his family, and it's terrible. But it seems weird to spotlight this.
Weep for your loss, and we will not rest until you have justice. Senator Thom Tillis has introduced legislation to allow Americans like Jody to sue sanctuary cities and states when a loved one is hurt or killed.
That's not good.
As a result of these deadly practices.
So I just laughed there because I'm seeing in the chat there are a few veterans who. So Jody is, if you've never been in the military or anything and you don't know who Jody is the guy that sleeps with your girlfriend or takes your job. He's everywhere in every city all at the same time, taking everyone's girlfriends and jobs. Jody has got your girl.
I ask Congress to pass the Justice for Victims of Sanctuary Cities Act immediately. The United States of America should be a sanctuary for law-abiding Americans, not criminal aliens.
This is just... We all know what this is, right? Like, he's very clearly, this is...
ICE has arrested over 5,000 wicked human traffickers.
Wicked?
Signed 9 pieces of legislation to
Wicked.
stamp out the menace of human trafficking domestically and all around the globe. My administration has undertaken an unprecedented effort to secure the southern border of the United States. Before I came into office, if you showed up illegally on our southern border and were arrested, you were simply released and allowed into our country, never to be seen again.
That's not true. Deportations were at all-time highs under Obama. Didn't they used to call him the deporter-in-chief or something? She's wearing an ERA yes button, huh?
You will now be promptly removed from our country.
That's how it always was. I mean, what if you get found?
We entered into historic cooperation agreements with the governments of Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. As a result of our unprecedented efforts, illegal crossings are down 75% since May, dropping 8 straight months in a row.
8 straight months isn't that big of an achievement. There's a yearly cycle. It's winter. It's going to be at its lowest right now.
And as the wall rapidly goes up, drug seizures rise, and the border crossings are going down very rapidly. Last year, I traveled to the border in Texas and met Chief Patrol Agent Raul Ortiz. Over the last 24 months, Agent Ortiz and his team have seized more than 200,000 pounds of poisonous narcotics, arrested more than 3,000 human smugglers, and rescued more than 2,000 migrants. Days ago, Agent Ortiz was promoted to Deputy Chief of Border Patrol, and he joins us tonight. Chief Ortiz, please stand.
I mean, who's even talking about ICE right now? There are no caravans. There's nothing going on. This is a strange focus.
The nation thanks you and all of the heroes of Border Patrol and ICE. Thank you very much. Thank you. To build on these historic gains, we are working on legislation to replace our outdated and randomized immigration system with one based on merit, welcoming those who follow the rules, contribute to our economy, support themselves financially, and uphold our values.
So he's talking about the visa lottery, which I explained in my moderates guide. It's a very small slice of our immigration. It's like 50,000 people a year when our total immigration is millions. Like it's a fraction of a percent that he's talking about getting rid of.
Administration is restoring the rule of law and reasserting the culture of American freedom. Working with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Thank you, Mitch. And his colleagues in the Senate, we have confirmed a record number of 187 new federal judges to uphold our Constitution as written. This includes 2 brilliant new Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. Thank you.
Brett Kavanaugh should not have been appointed. Just, that's my opinion.
And we have many in the pipeline.
All of those judges he's talking about, Trump, I'd have to look this up, but he hasn't named like hundreds of people for federal positions. So like there's no Democrat obstruction here. He's just not submitting names. So these jobs aren't being filled. It's a problem that he himself has created.
My administration is also defending religious liberty, and that includes the constitutional right to pray in public schools.
Yeah, that's iffy. You're allowed to pray in school. The school is not allowed to make you pray.
In America, we don't punish prayer. We don't tear down crosses. We don't ban symbols of faith. We don't
Oh, yes, we do.
preachers and pastors. In America, we celebrate faith. We cherish religion.
One faith.
Lift our voices in prayer, and we raise our sights to the glory
Maybe two.
of God. Just as we believe in the First Amendment, we also believe in another constitutional right that is under siege all across our country. So long as I am president, I will always protect your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms.
So, more guns have been sold. More guns will be sold this year than last year and the previous year and the previous year. The Second Amendment is not under attack under any stretch.
In reaffirming our heritage.
The only attack on the Second Amendment, in recent years anyway, has been Trump's banning of bump stocks. Aside from that, nothing else has significantly changed.
As a free nation, we must remember that America has always been a frontier nation. Now we must embrace the next frontier. America's
nation.
manifest destiny in the stars. I am asking Congress to fully fund the Artemis program to ensure that the next man and the first woman on the moon will be American astronauts, using this as a launching pad to ensure that America is the first nation to plant its flag on Mars.
I mean, I'm pro space exploration, so all of this he's saying I'm for. Let's go to the moon. Let's go to Mars.
The nation is also strongly defending our national security and combating radical Islamic terrorism.
Yeah, using the phrase manifest destiny was not good.
Plan for peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Recognizing that all past attempts have failed, we must be determined and creative in order to stabilize the region and give millions of young people the chance to realize a better future. 3 years ago, the barbarians of ISIS held over 20,000 square
Barbarians?
miles of territory in Iraq and Syria. Today, the ISIS territorial caliphate has been 100% destroyed, and the founder
No, it hasn't.
of ISIS, the bloodthirsty killer known as al-Baghdadi, is dead.
ISIS is not gone. It's severely smaller, reduced than from what it was, but it's not 100% gone.
We are joined this evening by Carl and Marcia Mueller. After graduating from college, their beautiful daughter, Carla, became a humanitarian aid worker. She once wrote, "Some people find God in church, some people find God in nature, some people find God in love. I find God in suffering. I've known for some time what my life's work is, using my hands as tools to relieve suffering." In 2013, while caring for suffering civilians in Syria, Kayla was kidnapped, tortured, and enslaved by ISIS and kept as a prisoner of al-Baghdadi himself. After more than 500 horrifying days of captivity, al-Baghdadi murdered young, beautiful Kayla. She was just 26 years old. On the night that U.S. Special Forces operations ended al-Baghdadi's miserable life, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, received a call in the Situation Room. He was told that the brave men of the elite Special Forces team that so perfectly carried out the operation had given their mission a name, Task Force 814. It was a reference to a special day, August 14th, Kayla's birthday. Carl and Marcia, America's warriors, never forgot Kayla, and neither will we. Thank you.
I'm surprised he hasn't brought up Iran.
As men and women in uniform demonstrate the infinite depth of love that dwells in the human heart. One of these American heroes was Army Staff Sergeant Christopher Hake. On his second deployment to Iraq in 2008, Sergeant Hake wrote a letter to his one-year-old son, Gage. "I will be with you again," he wrote to Gage. "I will teach you to ride your first bike, build your first sandbox, watch you play sports, and see you have kids also. I love you, son. Take care of your mother. I am always with you, Daddy." On Easter Sunday of 2008, Chris was out on patrol in Baghdad when his Bradley fighting vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb. That night, he made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Sergeant Hake now rests in eternal glory in Arlington, and his wife Kelly is in the gallery tonight, joined by their son, who is now a 13-year-old and doing very, very well. To Kelly and Gage, Chris will live in our hearts forever. He is looking down on you now. Thank you.
Again, every president does this token story stuff. This isn't unique to Trump by any stretch, so I'm not docking points for this or anything. Every president has always put people in the gallery that they want to reference sometime in their speech. So this is pretty typical. It is, he's using a lot of these people as ways to get Americans angry about something. So this is angry at ISIS. The previous one was also ISIS, and then, you know, undocumented immigrants and stuff. He's using them kind of negatively rather than like, here's an amazing thing they did. If you've been paying attention, almost all of these stories are tragic in some way. With exception to maybe the Tuskegee Airmen. But
Thank you both very much. The terrorist responsible for killing Sergeant Hake was Qasem Soleimani, who provided the deadly roadside bomb.
okay, yeah, everyone was telling me Iran is next.
Soleimani was the Iranian regime's most ruthless butcher, a monster who murdered or wounded thousands of American service members in Iraq. As the world's top terrorist, Soleimani orchestrated the deaths of countless men, women, and children. He directed the December assault and went on to assault
December Dassault.
U.S. forces in Iraq, was actively planning new attacks when we hit him very hard. And that's why last month, at my direction, the U.S. military executed a flawless precision strike that killed Soleimani and terminated his evil reign of terror forever.
I'm personally torn on that issue. You can't just assassinate people whenever,
Our message
but also he was a bad person, so
will never escape American justice. If you attack our citizens, you forfeit your life. In recent months, we have seen proud Iranians raise their voices against their oppressive rulers. The Iranian regime must abandon its pursuit of nuclear weapons, stop spreading terror, death, and destruction, and start working for the good of its own people. Because of our powerful sanctions, the Iranian economy is doing very, very poorly.
Okay, so the Iran deal, if you're unfamiliar with it, it allowed them to enrich some uranium for the purposes of nuclear power, which, I'm sorry if you're against nuclear power, but it's really the only way that we can quickly address climate change. So you're going to have to change your opinion on that. But the Iran deal allowed them to have a little bit. And we were all monitoring it. The US, the EU, everyone was watching and making sure that they were only doing nuclear power. Then Trump, for really no reason, pulled the United States out of that deal. Iran was following the deal and was for a very long time after we pulled out. But eventually, we put economic sanctions on them, so it was like, well, what's the point in following the rules if we're going to get punished as if we're not? So, yeah, now Iran's out of the deal too, because there's no reason to be in it. They weren't getting the benefit of being in it because the United States pulled out. So we caused this situation. And putting sanctions on them is going to drive their economy down. And I hope there won't be any violence as a result, but it's possible. And it would be our fault.
We can help them make a very good and short time recovery. It can all go very quickly, but perhaps they are too proud or too foolish to ask for that help. We are here. Let's see which road they choose. It is totally up to them. As we defend American lives, we are working to end America's wars in the Middle East. In Afghanistan, the determination and valor of our warfighters has allowed us to make tremendous progress, and peace talks are now underway. I am not looking to kill hundreds of thousands of people in Afghanistan, many of them totally innocent. It is also not our function to serve other nations as law enforcement agencies. These are warfighters that we have, the best in the world, and they either want to fight to win or not fight at all. We are working to finally end America's longest war and bring our troops back home.
Every president has been saying that since we got in. I'll believe it when I see it.
War places a heavy burden on our nation's extraordinary military families, especially spouses like Amy Williams from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and her two children, 6-year-old Eliana and 3-year-old Rowan. Amy works full-time and volunteers countless hours helping other military families. For the past 7 months, she has done it all while her husband, Sergeant First Class Townsend Williams, is in Afghanistan on his 4th deployment in the Middle East. Amy's kids haven't seen their father's face in many months. Amy, your family's sacrifice makes it possible for all of our families to live in safety and in peace, and we want to thank you. Thank you, Amy. But Amy, there is one more thing. Tonight we have a very special surprise. I am thrilled to inform you that your husband is back from deployment. He is here with us tonight, and we couldn't keep him waiting any longer.
So I'm not a fan of the stunt, obviously, but I'm always a sucker for this, so sorry. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the pageantry involved here. Those kids don't look excited at all. Like they seem confused. It's like a frat house. This is...
Welcome home, Sergeant Williams. Thank you very much. As the world bears witness tonight, America is a land of heroes. This is a place where greatness is born, where destinies are forged, and where legends come to life. This is the home of Thomas Edison and Teddy Roosevelt, of many great generals, including Washington, Pershing, Patton, and McCarthy.
Is this the name-dropping part?
This is the home of Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, Amelia Earhart, Harriet Tubman, the Wright brothers, Neil Armstrong, and so many more.
Keep an eye on that Frederick Douglass.
Children learn names like Wyatt Earp, Davy Crockett, and Annie Oakley. This is the place where the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth. And where
Remember Plymouth?
made their last stand at the Alamo.
Remember the Alamo? Remember?
The beautiful, beautiful Alamo. The American nation
Oh, I remember.
out of the vast frontier by the toughest, strongest, fiercest, and most determined men and women ever to walk on the face of the earth. Our ancestors braved the unknown, tamed the wilderness, settled the Wild West, lifted millions from poverty, disease, and hunger, vanquished tyranny and fascism, ushered the world to new heights of science and medicine, laid down the railroads, dug out the canals, raised up the skyscrapers, and ladies and gentlemen, our ancestors built the most exceptional republic ever to exist in all of human history, and we are making it greater than ever before.
Oh, we're almost done. Okay. I thought we had way more to go. If people in my Discord could get me the Democrat response and Bernie's response, please.
This is our glorious and magnificent inheritance. We are Americans. We are pioneers. We are the pathfinders. We settled the new world. We built the modern world. And we change history forever by embracing the eternal truth that everyone is made equal by the hand of Almighty God.
Look at the... There. Okay, so the left side of the screen here is Republicans. And then the right side is is Democrats, which all the women happen to be wearing white. So look at how many more women are on this side of the room, on the right side, than on the left side. Just pay attention to that maybe a little bit. I know we're at the end of this State of the Union, and I probably should have said that at the beginning, but just pay attention to that.
America is the place where anything can happen. America is the place where anyone can rise. And here, on this land, on this soil, on this continent, the most incredible dreams come true. This nation is our canvas, and this country is our masterpiece. We look at tomorrow and see unlimited frontiers just waiting to be explored. Our brightest discoveries are not yet known. Our most thrilling stories are not yet told. Our grandest journeys are not yet made. The American age, the American epic, the American adventure has only just begun. Our spirit is still young. The sun is still rising. God's grace is still shining. And my fellow Americans, the best is yet to come. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Oh, you can't see it. Nancy just ripped it up. Yeah, there.
And President Trump.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and, well, I'll play it, but mute it. So that was Trump's State of the Union, his fourth. Well, technically his third. His first one was a joint address to Congress, but it's his fourth. He talked a lot about immigration. I suspect to kind of scare people a little bit. I mean, let's be honest. That's what he's doing. He's trying to scare people. Same with ISIS. ISIS is severely diminished from when it was, but it's not completely destroyed. Fine. Anyway, I don't know why I got off on that tangent. He didn't talk about the impeachment, though, which I'm actually somewhat surprised about. Like, not at all. Not even we should stop investigations or anything, any weird snide comments like that this year. So that was unexpected. I definitely expected him to talk about it and talk about how it's a sham. Or is he signing a ton? The guy with the money in his pocket? Who is that? That has to be someone with the money in their pocket.
I'll find out during the break here. So we are going to watch the responses since everyone seems to want that. So we're definitely going to do Bernie's response because I support him this election cycle. But it seems that there are multiple Democrat responses. There isn't just one like there usually is. So if you could, please let me know in the chat which one you want to see. Slow mode is on, so you can only say once every minute or so. But please let me know, and the mods will just by eye figure out what people have selected. And we will watch those. But back to Trump. He went on about immigration a lot and his wall that he's not building, and the crime rates, of course, which is, I find odd this year because immigration doesn't seem to be a hot topic. It has been in previous years, but this year it seems to be more healthcare and pharmaceuticals. That seems to be people's biggest concern, at least mine, and from the people I follow, that seems to be it. But he chose to go off on immigration and ISIS, which I guess that plays to the Republican base, I suppose. Now I'll talk about the Iowa caucuses and stuff when we get to the Democrat stuff. So since we're done with the State of the Union, let me sort of tell people how they can continue to support the channel, and then we will get into the Democrat responses. So you can subscribe, of course, and you can hit like and share and all that fun stuff. If you really want to support the channel, there are other ways, of course. You can join down below. It's the YouTube memberships. For $2 a month, you get access to the Discord, which is on fire right now. A lot of new people in there today, it seems. You'll also get a little fork next to your name. So if you've been watching the chat, there have been several people with a little fork, and it changes color the longer you're a member and all that fun stuff. You can also join on Patreon, where you can give a monthly donation in return for various tiers of rewards. Access to the Discord, access to previews, your name during the end card. Perhaps I'll even shout it out if you at a certain level. At the $50, not perhaps. I will shout you out at the $50 level. People in Patreon and on the Discord help me make my videos. It would be very difficult to continue this without them. I've had people in the Discord help me check my math in the healthcare video, or double check sources, and help me get scientific papers and all of that. The Discord community is vital to the creation of Knowing Better videos. And they've definitely been a huge help during this live stream, getting me links and helping me with facts and stuff like that. So I appreciate everyone who's been helping out in the Discord, everyone who is going to become a member. Thank all of you. Merch as well at standard.tv/knowingbetter. I have t-shirts, notebooks, pins, stickers. These are the notebooks. I use them all the time. I've been writing in one this whole time. We're actually running out of the first batch, so I'm looking at a redesign for this next year. So if you want like this notebook or the shirt I've worn in the past, you need to get it now, because once they're gone, I'm going to switch to a different pattern of some sort. So there's that. How else can you support the channel? You can follow me on Twitter, Knowing Better YT for YouTube. I tweet out. I'm much more political there, and of course here in the stream. But in my normal videos, I don't inject too much opinion. When I do, I say, in my opinion, we should blah. But on Twitter, that's kind of my vent space. And I also use Twitter to ask questions for the next video. People have been noticing that I've had a couple polls up about football helmets and running shoes. perhaps that's a clue of some sort. Also follow me on Instagram, Knowing Better YT as well. There's pictures of the ferrets on there. I mean, that's the best part, right? I'll get the ferrets here in a second since I'm seeing lots of super chats and people are asking. So I will get the ferrets. They're probably asleep, but you know, oh well. Lots of pictures of ferrets on Instagram. Also clues for upcoming videos as well. And Twitch. So this live stream was a test of my internet here, and we had a hiccup or two, but we seemed to resolve that fairly quickly. But this live stream was a test. I moved a few months ago to a new apartment, if you haven't noticed. This is my actual set. This is the set that I film Knowing Better videos in front of. This whole room is like my office now. But the internet here is worse than the apartment I left, which was surprising to me. And that kind of put the brakes on my streaming plans. But we've been going for almost 3 hours here with one minor hiccup. So I think it's safe to say that I'll start streaming on Twitch maybe after the next video, once I have the next video up and stuff. But I will also be in VidCon London here in 2 weeks, so probably after that as well. But 2 weeks from now, I'll be in London. So if you happen to be there, come say hi. I'll sign whatever you want. I usually carry a Sharpie or two around with me. So please support the channel if you're able. If not, I'm still happy to have you here. Subscriptions, likes, comments, all of that stuff counts and helps. So we are going to take a very quick break to refresh and stretch our legs and get various links, and we'll look at the Democrat responses. So stick around for that.
All right, so this one is Peabody. My two ferrets are Atlas and Peabody. This one's Peabody, and I gave him a treat. Excuse you. Gave him a treat because I woke him up, so now he wants to take it and go play. But they're a Portal reference. My last... Okay, go. Run. My last ferret was Wheatley, so Portal 2 references all around. And Atlas is still asleep, so we will come back with the Democrat responses. I think we'll... I see the link for Bernie. I don't see links for anyone else yet. Well, I could scroll up, I guess. But, hey, bud. All right. So, okay. All right. Back to sleep. All right, and we're back. The Tetris music that you've been hearing, I used in my Dante video and my Paradise Lost video. It's by, he goes by Nomad. I don't know if he wants me to use his real name or not, but Nomad's music is very good, and you should listen to it. So it looks like we have a few choices here for the Democrats. And... okay, everyone's like overwhelmingly Bernie, and nobody wants anyone else, apparently, so. We'll watch Bernie, and then decide after that, I suppose. Can we get a better... okay. Start over from the beginning. All right, so this election cycle, I'm supporting Bernie Sanders because of healthcare. Healthcare specifically, like that is like the one issue that I want solved, and I think Bernie's the best person to do that. There may be others who can, but I think he's the best person. So we're gonna go ahead and check this out, and then depending on how long we go and what people are feeling like, we might watch someone else's. But I don't like that there's like 6 responses. There used to just be the one, and I didn't even like when there was one, to be honest. But this one's terrible. Can we get a different link for this, please? Because the audio in this one's bad. Unless I'm, the only one who thinks that, but I don't think I am. I guess I'll just do it. Okay, I guess we're just going to use the Fox one. It's the only one that I can find. And this is it. Well, okay, the Bernie one. Where? Okay. This is this year? Yes, okay. Okay, we're sure. We've got it right. Let me make sure that everything's...
Thank you. Thank you all for being here this evening. Tonight, we just listened to Donald Trump's third and what I believe will be his very last State of the Union address. And let me take this opportunity to briefly respond to what President Trump said, and equally important, to what he did not say, and what we must do together to create an economy and a government that works for all of us, not just the 1%. As all of you know, tonight and on many other occasions, President Trump has told the American people that the economy today is booming like it has never boomed before.
Sorry about the audio, guys. This stream is this specific stream of Bernie is a little rough on the ears. I'm trying to adjust the volume to make it a little easier on you.
Well, in truth, for Trump and his billionaire friends, he is right. The economy is really booming for them. In fact, the wealthiest people in our country have never, ever had it so good.
You good?
And we are now experiencing more income and wealth inequality than any time in the last 100 years. In America today, the three wealthiest people in our country own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, while at the same time, 500,000 Americans are homeless, including 30,000 veterans. In America,
So there's this old video from a few years ago about wealth inequality in America, where he shows the wealth distribution on a graph. I'm sure someone can get me the link real quick. I don't know that I need to show it, but having it would be useful. Where the top one person has 10 rows of money, of their little graph money, and the poorest people have nothing whatsoever. And it is kind of come on, one guy, give up one column of your money so that these other people can eat, and then you still have all the money. So that's what he's talking about here with the wealth inequality, is that the top 3 people have more than the bottom half. And if they just gave up 10% of what they had, lives would be improved immeasurably. But, I mean, you're asking people to give stuff up, so.
today, the top 1% earn 49% of all new income.
Is that their donors at the bottom?
Our people are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay the rent, to put food on the table, to provide childcare for their kids, or even to go to the doctor. In America today, hundreds of thousands of bright young people cannot afford to go to college. Millions are struggling with outrageous levels of student debt. All the while, President Trump wants to make massive cuts to Pell Grants and other educational programs. And this is what Trump really means when he talks about a booming economy. This is what he really means. Since he has been in office, billionaires in America have seen their wealth increase by $854 billion, a 37% increase. In other words, the very, very, very rich are becoming even richer. Meanwhile, wages for the average American worker have gone up by all of 17 cents an hour over the past year after adjusting for inflation.
So is that what Trump was talking about when he said wages for the lowest earners have gone up? He's talking about 17 cents. I mean, I believe it. That sounds believable to me. When Trump said it, I had my doubts because, I mean, minimum wage is still minimum wage. They didn't change that. So there's a limit to how much wages can rise.
An increase of less than 1%.
17
Here
cents.
is Trump's booming economy. A 37% increase in the wealth of billionaires, a 1% increase in real wages for American workers. And thanks to Trump, for the first time in the history
Bernie,
of this
fix your
country,
audio.
this is quite unbelievable, but billionaires now pay a lower effective tax rate than the average working person in this country. Do you believe that?
That's true.
And profitable.
Most of their income is capital gains, which gets taxed at a much lower rate than income. So what he's saying is accurate.
Like Amazon.
My voice is giving out.
A nickel of federal income taxes last year, while they're owned by the wealthiest person in America. When Donald Trump was a candidate for president, he promised the American people that the wealthy would not benefit at all under his tax plan. We all remember that. Not the wealthy will not benefit. In fact, only the middle class and working families would benefit from his tax plan. He lied. As president, Trump signed a tax bill that provides 80% of all benefits over a 10-year period to the top.
This is when he starts to lose people, is when he starts to talk numbers.
Trump said
People glaze over. Even I'm doing it.
Manufacturing jobs in states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania. He lied. Since Trump has been in office, over 170,000 American jobs have been shipped overseas. We are now in a manufacturing recession. And the NAFTA 2.0 deal that he recently signed will not prevent a single corporation from shutting down factories in the United States and moving them to Mexico, where workers are paid less than $2 an hour. We can and will do much better than a Trump-negotiated trade deal.
So Bernie is against the USMCA and and he was against NAFTA as well. Sorry, after 3 hours, my voice is starting to go. He's against the USMCA, or was against the USMCA, because it doesn't address climate change, which a lot of the people on the debate stage were saying that, yeah, we'll get to climate change next, but a better trade deal is better than no trade deal, right? Which, like, yes, but also there is no later for climate change. It is sort of now. I know there's a lot of people who are still on the fence about climate change. I'm not. Climate change is real, and if you don't believe that by now, I doubt anything's going to change your mind, especially not me. But we need to address it now. Like, now is the time. When South Park makes fun of Al Gore and Man Bear Pig, remember that was 20 years ago. All of the jokes about, we didn't listen, it's coming the day before the day after tomorrow, we didn't listen. All of those jokes were 20 years ago. So we're here, and climate change is legitimately happening. We're seeing it.
I mean, I can look outside and tell you that this winter is very different from previous winters, even within the last 5 years. Like, if you haven't noticed a difference, you haven't been paying attention. And so the USMCA, Bernie Sanders said, we need to address climate change with this one because there might not be a next one. Now, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I do think we need to address it now. I mean, if we have a next one next year, obviously there is enough time, but okay.
No, President Trump, this is not the strongest economy we've ever had when 87 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured, and millions of Americans have lost their health insurance, President Trump, since you have been in office. This is not a booming economy when the pharmaceutical industry continues to rip off the American people by charging us the highest prices in the world by far.
Yeah, by like orders of magnitude.
1 out of 5 Americans can't afford the medicine their doctors prescribe. Can you imagine that? People go to the doctor, they are sick, and they can't even afford to fill the prescriptions their doctors prescribe. In his remarks tonight, Donald Trump talked about the need for America to have the, quote, most affordable, innovative, and high-quality healthcare system on earth. He continued, we will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions, end quote. Really? How gullible do you think the American people are? This is the same president who came 1 vote away from throwing 32 million Americans off the health care they have and ending the Affordable Care Act's protection for pre-existing conditions. This is also the president who in his last budget proposed a $1.4 trillion in cuts to Medicaid and $845 billion in cuts to Medicare. This is not a booming economy when half of older Americans have no retirement savings and no idea how they will ever be able to retire with any shred of dignity. Now, as important as it is to respond to some of what President Trump said tonight, it is equally important to discuss what Trump refused to talk about. In the year 2020, how can a president of the United States give a State of the Union speech and not mention climate change?
Well, I mean, we know how, but it is, he didn't bring it up.
How do you give a speech, State of the Union speech, and not mention climate change when the leading scientists of the world tell us that climate change is the greatest existential threat facing humanity, and that they, as scientists, have actually underestimated the speed and the severity in which climate change is wreaking havoc on our country and the entire world? I did not hear President Trump say one word about what it means when Australia is now on fire.
Yeah, I was gonna tweet this morning, but I thought that sounded a little dismissive of me, I guess. But I wrote, with everything going on in the last week, I've completely forgotten about Australia. I assume it's all just ash. Of course, I didn't send it, but I haven't heard anything about the fires. But I guess, I mean, American news is kind of taken over, so I have friends down there, so I hope they're all right.
The drought, and about the unprecedented level of flooding and extreme weather disturbances that we are experiencing. And he failed to talk about how many American communities could be underwater in the next century as a result of rising sea levels. By ignoring and, in fact, exacerbating the crisis of climate change, President Trump is turning his back on the children of America and on future generations, and dooming them to live in a planet increasingly unhealthy and uninhabitable. It is truly sad that we have a President of the United States who lacks the courage to stand up to his billionaire friends in the fossil fuel industry.
I mean, he's not going to do that.
Tonight, I didn't hear Donald Trump say one word about gun violence or the epidemic of mass shootings that we have experienced in recent years. Together, the American people want strong policies.
That was a weird cut.
Now, if I might, let me share a little bit of good news with you. And that is that after traveling around this country, I am more confident than ever that the American people want a government that is based on the principles of justice and compassion, not greed and corruption. Instead of throwing 32 million Americans off of their health insurance, as Trump wants to do by repealing the Affordable Care Act, the American people understand that health care is a human right and not a privilege. And that we must expand Medicare to cover every man, woman, and child in this country through a Medicare for All single-payer program. Now, Donald Trump may not like government health care, but Medicare is the most popular health insurance program in this country, and the time is long overdue for expanding it to cover all of our people.
Sorry. I'm suffering with you. Sorry.
Tonight, President Trump talked about his desire to preserve Social Security. Funny, that's not what he said last month when he was in Davos with his billionaire friends and talked about the need to cut back on entitlement programs. So we say to the president, instead of trying to cut Social Security, we must expand Social Security benefits so that every senior citizen in this country can live with the dignity they deserve, and every American with a disability can live with the security they need.
Social Security already covered. Oh, I'm assuming he wants to expand Social Security, but Social Security already covers disabled people under SSDI. It's part of Social Security, but also separate. You're not. I have a video about that.
Instead of more tax breaks for billionaires and Wall Street executives, we are going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour.
Okay, even if you disagree with the $15 number, minimum wage has not changed in forever, and it really should be tied to inflation, which is about, give or take, 2% every year. So campaign finance contributions are tied to inflation, and for the past several election cycles has gone up by $200 each time. But minimum wage, we just leave at $7.25 an hour. Federally anyway. Individual states and cities have changed it, but it's very low, and it has not changed in a long time.
We are going to provide equal pay for equal work. And we...
Just for the record, I don't know if you can, I guess you can't see it. The volume on the video is at half, and it still spikes like that. I don't know what to tell you.
We are going to make it easier for workers to join unions. Instead of giving massive tax breaks and subsidies to the fossil fuel industry, as Trump is doing, we are going to enact a tax on Wall Street speculators so that we can make public colleges and universities tuition-free and cancel all student debt in America. Instead of giving corporate welfare to large companies that are shipping our jobs overseas, we're going to stop providing lucrative federal contracts to corporations that are outsourcing American jobs to low-wage countries. Instead of demonizing the undocumented, we are going to pass comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship for the undocumented.
Again, regardless of your position on undocumented immigrants, there should be at least a path, right? Currently there is none, so they just can't ever, and they're just stuck in this limbo of not allowed to stay, not allowed to leave. Like, there needs to be some sort of solution. Anything other than nothing, which is what we've done for a long time.
And on day one, we are going to restore the legal status of the 1.8 million young people eligible for the DACA program. And in the richest country in the history of the world, we must not continue having more people in jail than any other country on earth because of a broken and racist criminal justice system.
I'm trying to decide whether or not to tackle that one or not. All right, like, we're the most developed country in the world and have the best economy and all of that stuff, yet we also have the most criminals, and something doesn't
connect there, right? If we're so prosperous and the most educated and everything else, why are we locking up so many people? If your answer is because they're just criminals, you're probably a racist. Probably. If your answer is, well, the system is racist, then you're probably more correct. I think if you're not on board with this at this point, you're a bit behind. There have been multiple studies done on a white criminal who did this crime and a black criminal who did the exact same crime getting different sentences. And the only explanation for that on a wider systemic view is racism. And if you want to say that, oh well, they're just inherently more likely to be criminals, well then you're a racist.
We need to invest in our young people, in jobs and education, not more jails and incarceration. And when we talk about criminal justice reform, we need to end the so-called war on drugs and legalize marijuana in every state in this country.
The war on drugs has been an objective failure.
Yes, tonight we have heard Donald Trump talk about deregulation and getting government off the backs of the American people. But if Trump believes that we have to get government off the backs of the American people, then he must understand, and his colleagues and friends must understand, that it is women who must control their own bodies, not the government. If we are serious about transforming our country, if we are serious about rebuilding the middle class, if we are serious about economic, racial, social, and environmental justice, we must end the divisiveness that Donald Trump is fomenting.
A string of big words there. He should have gotten a bigger clap for that, but I agree with him on this specifically, that Trump is dividing the country more than anyone previously had. Just watch the State of the Union. I mean, the fact that half the room is chanting USA and constantly shouting out their comments, that didn't happen before. Like, you watch a State of the Union from Obama's last year, even, when I guess we were at our most divisive under him, his last year. They didn't do that. Like, there was that one guy who yelled, "You lie," once, and he was, like, super condemned by Congress for it. Now it's whatever. That's par for the course. It just happens. We give medals of freedom to radio shock jocks. Like, that stuff didn't happen before. This is new, and I don't like it. And I'm not the only one. We saw... I'll let him finish, and then we'll talk about Iowa.
We must bring our people together. Black and white, Latino.
I'm trying to decide if I want what I want you to see. Where was it? There. This. KB fails to understand that Bernie and Trump are populists. No, I very much understand that Bernie is a populist. However, he's not turning people against each other. Right? there's different forms of populism where, I mean, if you're a popular person and you're building a grassroots movement, that's populism. But Trump adds onto it xenophobia and nationalism and racism and all of that. Maybe you, specifically you, aren't a racist, but you're hanging out in a crowd full of them. So you may need to take a look around and think about which populist movement you are getting behind, because yes, they are both populist, and one of them is inclusive and one of them is very divisive.
Native American, Asian American, gay and straight, and create a government based on the principles of justice. This is an unprecedented moment in American history. Let us go forward together. Thank you all very much.
Okay, so that wasn't too bad. I don't know why they left the stream going for like 40 minutes of nothing, but hey, it was better than the Fox News version. That audio had a buzz behind it the entire time. Okay, so I'll talk about Iowa a little bit. Yesterday, the Iowa caucuses occurred, which, if you're unaware of how that works, it's like a primary, but you vote with your physical body actually being there. So they're very small. Most of the precincts only had like 200, maybe 300 people in them, and then you actually divide into groups, and any candidate that didn't have 15% support got eliminated, and they had to find a new group. It's sort of like ranked choice voting, but and sort of like a runoff system, kind of like a hybrid between the two. And they instituted a new system to report their results through an app that apparently failed last night mysteriously, and today they were just now getting to releasing some of the results. Before I started the stream, last I checked, 62% of the precincts were reporting, which doesn't make any sense to me at all, because if you're going to turn in late work, it might as well be complete late work. Turning in half complete late work raises some flags for me, because I tweeted out earlier today a prediction about what the results would be, and so far it's correct. I don't know if the rest of the results have come out yet. I'd be happy to look at them if they have, but I said the first batch will probably show someone else in the lead, and it'll be very close, and then after the State of the Union they'll release the rest, and we might see who pulls ahead. Last I saw, Buttigieg was in the lead by like 0.9% or something. It is very narrow. But the biggest, second to, and Bernie was second. The big news, though, really, from Iowa is that Biden is basically done. All of the attention he was getting as the front runner who could possibly beat Trump, that's over with. I mean, he had like, again, last I checked, something like less than 10%. So it's over for him. I may not be 100% on what his actual number was, but he was fourth, which was not what he was expecting at all. So that's bad for Biden. Possibly good for Pete. We'll see. But I think very good news for Sanders, especially going into New Hampshire, which he's going to dominate that. He's from the neighboring state of See, now I'm starting to like question whether I'm correct or not, because I'm seeing all these different comments. He's from Vermont, right? I'm not even gonna check. I'm just gonna assume that's correct. So we'll see what happens with Vermont or with New Hampshire. New Hampshire is the big one now. No one cares about Iowa because they fumbled it so hard. How do you Like, we've been doing these caucuses for decades, and even in the 50s, they were able to get results within 24 hours. So it's kind of weird that this happened, and they're slow leaking the results out. It's strange, but hey. So I don't think we're gonna watch another response because they end up just repeating themselves and then saying what I also said. So I think we're gonna end the State of the Union part here. If you wanted to get any super chats in now before the end, now would be the time, because I'm going to start wrapping up, and I'll bring the ferrets out too for one last goodbye. So get hype, or whatever the kids say. So please subscribe to my channel. I'm Knowing Better. I do history, government, and psychology, and sometimes some other stuff, religion, economics, and possibly sports coming up. I also am starting to do live streams on Twitch. This stream was a test of my setup, and it seemed to go mostly well. So after, probably in March, I will start live streaming on Twitch regularly, few hours on the weekend. I don't plan on doing every day. My voice can barely handle tonight. So be on the lookout for that. If you're not already following me on Twitch, you should start doing that. That way I can get a viewer base going as soon as I start. Twitch.tv/knowingbetteryt. On YouTube, I'm Knowing Better. On everywhere else, I'm Knowing Better YT, typically. So follow me on Twitter, on Instagram for pictures of ferrets and some sneak peeks and polls and all of that sorts of stuff. If you join on Patreon or on YouTube, you can help me make my videos by actually being part of the Discord and helping me double check math and sources and even idea generation. Oftentimes I'll go to my chat or to my Discord and I want to make a video about this, but I'm not quite sure what angle to take. Dozens of possible answers. So the Discord is invaluable to me, and it's all fans of Knowing Better. So go to Patreon. For $2 a month, you can get on the Discord. $5, you get previews. $10, your name, and more and more. Also, I have merch at standard.tv/knowingbetter. The t-shirts are running out. So we're going to have a new batch of those soon, or at least we're probably going to come up with a new design, something different, something more than just the logo. I have notepads and stickers and all of that stuff, which I actually use. And it's pretty good stuff. So what else do I have that I can tell you about? I think that's it. You can subscribe and join on YouTube. Also, you get access to the Discord. And I will go get the ferrets.
Come on, take it. All right, everyone. Good night.